Okay, I want you to do something for me. Wherever you are right now, unless you're behind the wheel of a car, obviously, just close your eyes for a second.
Yeah, please keep your eyes open if you're driving.
Right, definitely keep them open.
Yep.
But if you're safe, close your eyes, and I want you to imagine a highly specific sensory experience. You are walking up to a set of heavy glass doors.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
You pull them open, you step over the threshold into this massive carpeted lobby, and the very second those doors close behind you, you are just completely hit by it.
Oh, I know exactly what you're going to say.
It is that incredibly warm, rich, heavy, deeply salted smell of buttery popcorn. It's literally thick in the air.
Yeah, you can practically taste the salt on your tongue before you even see the food counters.
Exactly. And for most of us, that specific smell is a universal, almost biological trigger for a good mood.
Oh, absolutely.
Your shoulders drop. It means relaxation. It means you are about to be entertained. You know, you're about to escape whatever's stressing you out in reality for a solid 2 or 3 hours.
Right, it's pure escapism.
But, this is a big but, if you are navigating this exact same building in a second language, in a foreign country, that exact same buttery smell can actually be a trigger for a massive spike in social anxiety.
It really is a complete psychological flip. Suddenly, that incredibly comforting, nostalgic environment transforms into a high-stakes linguistic obstacle course.
An obstacle course, yes.
Yeah.
That's the perfect way to describe it.
Because you aren't just walking in there to turn off your brain and relax anymore. You are walking in there to perform.
Yeah.
I mean, the cognitive load is staggering when you really break it down.
No, true.
First, you have to handle the financial transaction of buying the tickets. Then you have to decode this massive, brightly lit menu of snacks hovering above your head.
Which is overwhelming even for native speakers sometimes.
Totally. And then you have to articulate requests for specific, often uniquely American sizes and combinations. And finally, you have to find a highly specific assigned spot in a pitch-black room.
Right, all while interacting with employees and strangers who are speaking at a rapid-fire conversational pace.
Exactly. You have the sensory overload of the flashing lights and the arcade games in the corner, colliding directly with the cognitive overload of translating vocabulary in your head in real time.
The heart rate just spikes. And that is exactly what we are getting into today. Welcome to our deep dive into the American movie theater experience.
It's going to be a fun one.
We are breaking down the art of going out to the movies, buying that popcorn, and surviving the social interactions when you are abroad.
And we have some really fascinating source transcripts to work through today.
We do. But our mission for this deep dive isn't just to hand you a dry list of vocabulary words to memorize like you're studying for an exam.
Right, nobody wants that.
No. We are getting into the mechanics of the subtle, invisible art of polite, casual communication in a fast-paced environment.
Because that's where the real magic happens.
Exactly. We're going to decode the specific phrases that make you sound like a local, from the second you walk in to buy that ticket, all the way to handling incredibly awkward, potentially confrontational social encounters in the dark.
Which, you know, when you look at it through a sociological lens, is a profoundly vital skill set.
What do you mean?
Well, the modern movie theater is essentially a microcosm of everyday American social interaction.
Oh, that's an interesting way to frame it.
Yeah, it is this perfectly controlled environment where we can observe all the unwritten rules of how people talk to each other in public spaces.
Right.
The social scripts that get utilized in a cinema lobby, like the rhythm of how to order food seamlessly, or the exact syntactic formulas for how to politely disagree with a stranger over physical space.
Yes, the territorial disputes.
Exactly. Those are the exact same linguistic scripts you need to navigate almost any casual setting abroad.
So you're saying it's a transferable skill?
100%. If you can master this one highly specific scenario, it equips you with the confidence to communicate in a coffee shop, on a subway, or at a casual dinner without feeling completely overwhelmed and without sounding like a robotic language app.
I love that. So let's actually walk through this journey chronologically.
Let's do it.
We start at the very beginning. The threshold.
The point of no return.
Exactly. You've walked through those heavy glass doors, you smell the popcorn, and your immediate first task is securing a ticket so you can legally be in the building.
Right.
Now, if we look back even a decade or two, the standard procedure was walking right up to a physical ticket window with a glass partition.
Which is traditionally called the box office.
The box office, right. But that physical landscape has completely shifted over the last few years.
It really has.
The box office as a physical destination where you speak to a human is rapidly becoming a relic.
It's true. The architecture of the lobby has changed to reflect modern consumer habits.
Yeah, everybody's just on their phones now.
Exactly. Today, the vast majority of people are simply buying their tickets on a phone app while they are still in their living room.
Right, which allows them to bypass the ticketing line entirely.
But even if you don't do that, say you decide to buy tickets in person on a whim, you walk into the lobby and you are immediately directed away from the human employees.
Yeah, you get funneled toward this row of glowing touchscreen machines.
Right, and the industry refers to these self-serve stations as kiosks, spelled K-I-O-S-K.
The kiosk, which is such a strange, almost archaic-sounding word for what is fundamentally just a giant iPad bolted to a metal stand.
It really is a funny word.
But let's say the kiosk is broken, or maybe you have a complicated payment method, and you actually do have to walk up to the sole human being working at the customer service counter.
This is where things get interesting.
Yes, because this is where we see a major psychological trap that language learners fall into all the time.
Oh, absolutely.
It's a phenomenon our source material outlines beautifully, and we can call it robot English.
Robot English, yes. It's so common.
I want you to imagine a learner walking up to the teenager behind the counter and saying, I would like to purchase one admission ticket for the 7B0 p.m. viewing.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Now, if you look at that on a whiteboard in a classroom, it is a grammatically flawless sentence.
It's technically perfect.
Right. Every verb is conjugated perfectly. The prepositions are correct. But culturally, in that specific room, it sounds entirely alien.
It really does.
So why do our brains do this? Why do we feel this overwhelming psychological need to deploy these massive, clunky SAT-level words when we're nervous in a second language?
Well, it all comes down to the psychology of overcompensation and how our brains manage risk under pressure.
Okay, unpack that for me.
Sure. When you are learning a language in a formal setting, you are taught strict, rigid grammar rules, right?
Yeah, lots of textbook drills.
Exactly. And you are given highly formal vocabulary lists. You are taught that A always equals B.
Right.
So when you are suddenly thrust into a high-pressure, real-world setting with a line of impatient people behind you, your anxiety spikes.
Naturally.
And what do humans do when they are anxious? They cling to the rules.
Because the rules are safe.
Exactly. The rules act as a life raft. So you start doing literal word-for-word translations in your head.
So you're standing there thinking, okay, I am exchanging fiat currency for a good or service. Therefore, the most accurate verb is purchase.
Yes, exactly. And you think, I am paying a fee to be admitted into an exclusive event. Therefore, the noun is an admission ticket.
Wow, so you're trying so desperately to be objectively correct that you completely bypass the natural, informal rhythm of conversational English.
You bypass it completely.
It's like it's the linguistic equivalent of showing up to a relaxed summer beach party wearing a full three-piece tuxedo.
That is a perfect analogy.
Right. Because technically speaking, the tuxedo is an impressive, high-quality garment. It proves you know how to dress yourself.
Yes, but it is completely inappropriate for the environmental context.
Exactly. And it instantly makes you stick out in a way that makes everyone else slightly uncomfortable.
That captures the dynamic perfectly. You are massively overdressed for the social occasion. And the great irony of robot English is that by trying to sound highly educated, formal, and precise, you are inadvertently signaling to the native speaker that you are deeply uncomfortable with their language.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
So by trying to look smart, you're actually broadcasting your insecurity.
Yes. If we look at how a native speaker actually executes that exact same transaction, the contrast is really jarring.
What would they say?
Instead of that sprawling, formal sentence, the native speaker steps up to the counter and simply says, 2 for Spider-Man at 7.0, please.
2 for Spider-Man at 7.0, please. Wow, it is so incredibly brief. It feels like half a sentence.
Because it essentially is. And this highlights a really counterintuitive truth about what fluency actually looks like in practice.
Tell me more about that.
Well, we tend to think of fluency as the ability to use the most complex vocabulary and the longest sentences possible.
Right. Big words equal good English.
Exactly. But in casual social settings, true fluency is often about knowing exactly what you can safely subtract.
Subtraction.
Yes. By removing all those structural words, cutting out purchase, admission, and viewing, you are demonstrating a much higher level of cultural competence.
Because you understand the context.
Exactly. You understand the shared context of the room so intimately that you know the teenager behind the counter already knows you are buying tickets for a movie.
Right, you're in a movie theater. You don't need to explain the premise of the transaction.
Exactly. You only need to deliver the variable data.
Which is the quantity, the specific title, and the time.
Yes. Stripping away the excess grammar is what actually signals mastery of the environment.
Less really is more. You are relying on the context of the building to do the heavy lifting for your grammar.
Precisely.
All right, so you've successfully bypassed the box office, you've resisted the urge to speak robot English, and you've secured your ticket.
Step 1 complete.
But now, you have to turn around and face what is undeniably the most culturally overwhelming, chaotic part of the entire American cinema experience.
The snack bar.
The snack bar.
Or, as it is officially designated in the industry, the concession stand.
The concession stand. And stepping up to this counter can be genuinely anxiety-inducing because of the sheer, unapologetic scale of everything in front of you.
Oh, the scale is wild.
American portion sizes are notoriously massive to begin with, but in a movie theater, they operate on an entirely different plane of reality.
They really do.
You have the standard small, medium, and large, but a cinema small is often the size of a bucket you would use to wash your car.
Dude, it's absurd.
And then you have to navigate this legendary retail concept of the combo.
Yes, the combo.
Which is short for combination. It's a meal deal strategy where they package a popcorn, a drink, and maybe a candy together under a single number, like a number 2 combo.
Right, to trick your brain into thinking you're getting a discount.
Exactly. But let's look past the packaging and talk about the actual food. We have to talk about the popcorn.
We have to.
And specifically, the uniquely American phenomenon of the butter.
This is such a fascinating part of the transcript. This is where we see a massive, almost comical point of cultural shock for international visitors.
Oh, I bet.
If you look at movie theater culture in many European or Asian countries, the popcorn is treated very differently.
How so?
Well, in parts of Asia, for instance, theater popcorn is typically sweet. It's often coated in a hard caramel.
Oh, really?
Yeah, or it is just lightly dusted with salt. It's relatively dry.
Okay, that sounds pretty normal.
But in the United States, the entire concept of movie theater popcorn is structurally built around the application of this warm, melted, aggressively bright yellow butter-flavored oil.
Yellow butter oil. I mean, just saying those words out loud makes it sound like a hazardous industrial material.
It kind of looks like one, too.
It really does.
Yeah.
And it is everywhere. Some theaters don't even have the employees do it anymore.
Right, the self-serve stations.
Yeah, they have these self-serve butter dispensaries in the lobby. You just walk up to this giant metal vat, push a heavy mechanical button, and literally pump this liquid gold directly onto your food yourself.
It's very interactive.
But the most fascinating, structurally complex part of this whole ritual is the concept of ordering your butter layered.
Yes, layered.
Mechanically speaking, what on earth is layered popcorn?
It is a purely American feat of culinary engineering, honestly, born out of sheer excess.
I love that. Culinary engineering.
If you think about the physics of a massive bucket-sized container of popcorn, you run into a structural problem.
Okay.
If you simply pump hot butter onto the top of the bucket, the popcorn at the very top becomes completely saturated, soggy, and heavy.
Right, it gets drenched.
While the popcorn at the bottom remains entirely dry and untouched. The butter cannot physically penetrate the density of the popcorn to reach the lower levels.
That is a serious logistical flaw.
It is. So, to solve this engineering crisis, the concession worker will look at you and ask a very specific question. They'll say, do you want that layered?
Layered, okay, so what happens if you say yes?
If you say yes, they engage in a whole construction process. They fill the bucket a third of the way up, stop, and pump a layer of hot butter oil.
Okay, building the foundation.
Exactly. Then they add another third of popcorn, pump a second layer of butter, and then finish it off with a final dome of popcorn and a third pump of butter on top.
Wow.
It ensures equal butter distribution from top to bottom.
That is incredible. You know, I remember hearing a story from an international student who experienced this for the very first time.
Oh no, what happened?
They were standing at the counter. The employee asked, do you want it layered? And because this student had no idea what that meant in the context of food, they panicked.
Of course they did.
They just stared wide-eyed at the worker and blurted out, just put it everywhere, please.
That is amazing.
Which is, honestly, the most brilliant, authentic reaction you could possibly have to what is essentially a heart attack in a cardboard bucket.
Just put it everywhere. It's a highly effective, adaptable response when you are caught off guard.
It totally works.
It does. But moving beyond the physical engineering of the snacks, this interaction at the concession stand provides one of the most critical linguistic lessons for navigating American service culture.
Okay, let's get into it.
There is a very common, very subtle phrasing mistake that language learners make when trying to acquire these snacks.
What do they usually say?
A learner trying to be efficient will walk up and say, "Give me one big popcorn."
Give me. Oof. Which, even if you say it with a smile, just hits the ear so aggressively.
It really does. It hits the ear aggressively because give me is fundamentally an imperative command.
Right, you're commanding them.
You are issuing an order. Even if your tone of voice is friendly, and even if you don't intend to be rude, the syntactic structure of the sentence is demanding.
Yeah, nobody likes being told, give me.
Exactly. Additionally, using the adjective big instead of large instantly signals that you aren't familiar with standard Western retail sizing.
Right, because it's rigidly categorized as small, medium, and large.
Yes. But the core social offense is the command itself.
So how do we fix it?
To fix this, you upgrade to what is arguably the most important, versatile phrase in modern American English. You say, "Can I get a large popcorn, please?"
This is the ultimate polite yet casual linguistic skeleton key.
It unlocks everything.
It really does. You want a latte at Starbucks? Can I get a venti latte? You want a burger at a drive-thru? Can I get a cheeseburger?
Yep, it works everywhere.
But hold on, I have to poke at the mechanics of this.
Okay, go for it.
Because if we strip away the cultural habit and look at those words literally, can I get makes absolutely no logical sense in this context.
Let's break down why you think that.
Well, the modal verb refers to physical ability or capacity. If I say, "Can I get a large popcorn?" technically, I am asking the teenager behind the counter to evaluate my own physical or existential capability of receiving the item.
Yes, you are.
I am essentially asking, am I physically capable of getting this? I am not actually requesting that the worker do an action like, "Could you please hand me a popcorn?"
That's entirely true.
So why has this deeply illogical, technically incorrect phrasing become the absolute gold standard of American politeness, replacing something much more accurate and grammatically sound like, "I would like a popcorn"?
That is a brilliant teardown of the literal semantics.
Thank you. It's just always bugged me.
You are entirely correct. On a literal word-by-word basis, the sentence is absurd.
Completely absurd.
But this is exactly where pragmatics, which is the study of how social context dictates meaning, completely overrides strict dictionary definitions.
Okay, pragmatics. Tell me more.
When you look at the broader picture of American social dynamics, there is a deep underlying cultural discomfort with the concept of class hierarchy and overt servitude.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Direct commands, even extremely polite ones like "I would like," still carry a faint echo of a master-servant dynamic.
Because you're still stating a desire that they have to fulfill.
Exactly. They can feel slightly too transactional, too rigid, or too aristocratic for highly casual, everyday settings.
So the culture is actively trying to hide the fact that one person is serving another.
Precisely. Modern American customer service culture operates on a very specific social fiction.
A social fiction.
Yes, the pretense that the interaction is happening between two completely equal peers who just happen to be hanging out at a concession stand.
That is so interesting.
By phrasing your order as a hypothetical question about your own ability, like, "Can I get?" you are subtly shifting the linguistic burden away from a direct command directed at the worker.
You are softening the edge of the transaction.
Exactly. You are essentially participating in this shared egalitarian illusion, pretending you are just asking the universe if it's possible for this transaction to occur.
Rather than demanding the worker fetch you a bucket of food.
Right. It is incredibly casual, it is completely non-threatening,
Yeah.
and it maintains the social temperature of the room.
It's a polite fiction. You are actively choosing a grammatically illogical sentence to protect the emotional equality of the interaction.
That's a great way to summarize it.
That is fascinating. Okay, so armed with your massive combo, your perfectly layered butter engineering, and your newly acquired egalitarian social script, you now have to step away from the bright neon lights of the lobby.
Into the unknown.
Exactly. And transition into the pitch black theater itself. This is where we encounter the potential for actual social friction.
The stakes immediately elevate here.
Why is that?
Because you are transitioning from a commercial transaction with an employee to a territorial negotiation with the general public.
Territorial negotiation, I like that.
Modern theaters have fundamentally changed how we occupy this space. In the past, it was general admission. You walked in and sat wherever you could find an empty spot.
It was free for all.
It was. But today, almost every major theater operates on a system of strict assigned seating.
Right.
You select your exact location on a digital map beforehand, and your ticket dictates your coordinates, like row G, seat 12.
And the terminology of this spatial environment is very specific. First, you have the aisle seat, which is highly coveted by people who want to go to the bathroom during the movie.
Very important seat.
And just a quick note on aisle, it is spelled A-I-S-L-E.
Ugh, English spelling.
Which has that completely ridiculous silent S hanging out in the middle of it, just to torture people learning to read English.
It really is cruel.
But it refers to the seat immediately bordering the walkway, or the carpeted stairs.
Yeah.
But beyond the spelling quirks, there's a much deeper linguistic distinction we need to unpack here.
Which one?
The difference between asking for a seat versus asking for a chair.
Oh, yes. This is crucial.
Because a very common error in the source material is a learner walking into the dark, looking at their ticket, and asking an usher, "Excuse me, where is my chair?"
This error reveals a lot about the spatial psychology of the English language.
Okay, let's break that down.
In many other languages, there is simply a single universal noun for any piece of furniture designed for sitting.
Right, sitting is sitting.
Exactly. A stool, a bench, a dining chair, a stadium bleacher, it all translates to one core word. But English heavily divides these concepts based on permanence, context, and ownership.
Ownership, okay.
A chair is an independent, movable, physical object. It's a piece of furniture you can pick up and carry into another room.
Like you have chairs around a kitchen table or a chair at a desk.
Exactly.
So walking into a massive stadium or a cinema and asking, "Where's my chair?" sounds like you brought your own furniture from home and lost it.
Yes. It feels completely out of scale.
The scale is wrong, and the implication of ownership is wrong.
In English, a seat in this specific context represents an abstract concept of placement and temporary real estate within a shared communal event.
Temporary real estate.
Right. The seats in a theater, a sports stadium, or a commercial airplane are physically bolted to the floor. They cannot be moved.
They are part of the architecture.
Therefore, they represent your assigned spatial location, your designated coordinate for the duration of the event.
You don't own the object. You are renting the location.
That is why you must ask, "Where's my seat?"
That distinction makes so much sense when you explain it that way. But knowing the correct vocabulary is the easy part.
True.
The real test of your cultural fluency happens when you finally navigate the dark stairs, locate row G, seat 12, and discover that a total stranger is already sitting in it, eating their popcorn.
The worst case scenario.
This is an incredibly stressful moment, especially if it's a Friday night and the theater is sold out.
Right, meaning every single ticket in the building has been purchased.
So you can't just quietly avoid conflict by sitting 3 rows back. You have to reclaim your territory.
It is the ultimate test of conversational diplomacy.
How do you evict a stranger from your property without causing a scene in a dark, quiet room?
Well, the instinct for many people, especially if they are translating directly from a language that values blunt directness, is to state the objective truth.
Which would be what?
They walk up, point at the seat, and say, "You are in my seat."
But hold on, mechanically, why is that considered wrong?
I know, it sounds perfectly logical.
If I have the ticket in my hand, and the ticket says row G, seat 12, and they are sitting in row G, seat 12, I know with 100% certainty that they are in my seat.
You do.
Why does American English require us to dance around the objective facts? Why can't I just say, "That is my seat, please move"?
Because you have to factor in human psychology and the mechanics of ego protection.
Ego protection.
Yeah, which the sociologist Irving Goffman famously called saving face.
Saving face.
When you walk up to a stranger in the dark and bluntly say, "You are in my seat," you are delivering a direct accusation. You are verbally cornering them.
Okay, I see where this is going.
Biologically, when a human being feels cornered, accused of a mistake, or publicly embarrassed, their fight or flight response activates.
They get defensive.
They do. Even if they suddenly realize they are entirely in the wrong, their immediate instinctive reaction might be to argue, delay, or dig their heels in simply to protect their ego in front of the surrounding crowd.
Because absolutely nobody likes being abruptly informed they are wrong by a stranger in public.
Precisely. It creates immediate social friction.
So what's the workaround?
To bypass the ego defense mechanism, American English utilizes a highly specific, carefully calibrated formula of de-escalation.
Which is?
Instead of the direct accusation, you approach the stranger, smile, and say, "Excuse me, I think you might be in my seat."
Excuse me, I think you might be in my seat. Let's look at those words. You are injecting so much manufactured doubt into the sentence.
You really are. You use "I think," which frames the situation as your own subjective perception rather than an aggressive objective fact.
Right.
And you use the modal verb "might be," which introduces the concept of possibility rather than certainty.
Okay, so you're softening it.
Yes. By layering these softeners into the sentence, you are actively engineering a polite exit ramp for the stranger.
An exit ramp.
You are framing the conflict not as a deliberate, malicious theft of your property, but as a mutual, hypothetical puzzle that the two of you need to solve together.
Oh, that is brilliant.
You are giving their ego the space to gracefully back down.
Yeah.
It allows them to say, "Oh my goodness, let me pull out my ticket. Oh, you're so right. My mistake."
Right. They get to look like a cooperative citizen correcting a minor clerical error rather than a jerk who got caught stealing a seat.
Exactly. It is incredibly non-confrontational, yet it remains completely firm because you are still initiating the boundary correction. It is brilliant social lubrication.
It really is a verbal magic trick. You are asserting your absolute right to the real estate, but you are wrapping it in a linguistic blanket that makes the other person feel like they are doing you a favor by moving.
That's exactly how it works.
And the beauty of this specific phrasing is how wildly applicable it is.
Oh, you can use it anywhere.
You can use, I think you might be, when someone grabs your identical black suitcase off the baggage carousel at the airport.
Or when someone sits in your reserved window seat on a train in Europe.
Right. It is the ultimate de-escalation tool.
It is a universal solvent for minor urban conflicts.
Okay, so the territorial dispute is gracefully resolved. The stranger apologizes and shuffles away. You sit down in your hard-won aisle seat.
The stress is over.
You balance your massive layered combo on your lap, and the lights finally dim. The chatter dies down.
The best part.
We have now reached the final phase of this journey. The shared experience.
Yes, and there is a very specific, universally observed ritual that occurs in those final moments before the actual art begins.
Setting the stage.
First, the unspoken rule of silence takes effect, and everyone frantically double-checks that their phones are silenced.
Very important etiquette.
Then you sit in the dark and endure about 20 minutes of trailers.
Trailers, right. The industry term for previews.
Exactly. Highly edited promotional advertisements for movies that will be released in the coming months.
But beyond the etiquette of the room itself, this phase introduces a massive linguistic hurdle regarding how we describe the act of consuming this visual media.
Yes, the verbs of perception.
This is a classic trap that almost every language learner falls into at least once.
They do.
It usually manifests in a sentence like, "I want to look a movie this weekend."
Look a movie. It is an incredibly common translation error because of how English fragments visual perception.
Explain what you mean by fragments.
Well, in many Romance or Germanic languages, there's often a single, highly flexible verb used for general visual observation.
Okay.
But English demands extreme specificity based on the nature of the object and the context of the environment. The holy trinity of confusion for learners is the division between look, see, and watch.
Right. To smooth out that specific error, the rule of thumb is that you say, "I am going to see a movie," when you were referring to a cinema. But you say, "I am going to watch a movie," when you were sitting on your sofa at home.
That's the rule.
But again, I want to unpack the logic here. Because physically, mechanically, my eyeballs are doing the exact same thing in both scenarios.
Right, you're just staring at a screen.
I am sitting in a stationary position, staring straight ahead at a glowing rectangle, absorbing a 2-hour narrative. Why does the English language insist I am seeing it in a theater, but watching it in my living room?
It's a great question.
What is the conceptual difference in the brain?
It comes down to the phenomenology of the experience and how we categorize events versus activities.
Events versus activities.
Right. Watching implies a sustained, active visual focus on something that is moving or changing over a period of time. And it is almost always associated with a casual, private, or domestic setting.
Like you watch television.
Exactly. You watch a football game on your laptop. You watch the kids playing in the backyard. It is an activity you engage in.
Okay, so what about seeing?
Seeing, however, when used in the context of entertainment, implies the attendance of a public event.
The event aspect, the friction of leaving the house.
Exactly. When you tell your friends, I'm going to see a movie, you are not just talking about the visual processing of the film.
You're talking about the whole night out.
You are encompassing the entire experiential package. You are taking a shower, putting on hard pants, driving your car, buying a ticket, sitting in a crowd of strangers and experiencing a communal atmosphere.
Right. Think about how we use the word for other cultural touchstones. You see a Broadway play.
You go see a live concert.
Right. You would never say, I'm going to watch a Taylor Swift concert if you were physically in the stadium. You see it.
Therefore, you see a movie at the cinema because it is an outing, an event you are actively attending.
That makes so much sense.
But the moment that exact same movie is released on a streaming service and you are sitting in your pajamas on a Tuesday night eating cereal, the event aspect evaporates.
The public sphere is gone.
Exactly. At that point, you are simply engaging in the sustained visual activity of watching a movie.
That makes perfect sense when you map it to the public versus private sphere. See is the public event, watch is the private activity.
It's a really helpful framework.
It is a tiny one-word switch, but making that distinction instantly elevates your conversational English from sounding like a textbook to sounding like a native speaker making weekend plans.
Totally.
And before we leave the theater entirely, we have to touch on the aftermath of the movie, and arguably the most powerful piece of modern pop culture terminology.
The spoiler.
The spoiler.
A spoiler is universally defined as any piece of information that prematurely reveals a crucial plot twist, a surprise appearance, or the ultimate ending of a piece of narrative media.
Right, someone ruining the surprise.
And what's truly fascinating is how the concept of the spoiler has evolved from a minor annoyance into a massive driver of human behavior and cultural anxiety.
It has become a legitimate cultural taboo.
It really has.
I mean, people will entirely alter their digital lives to avoid them. I know people who will delete Twitter or refuse to look at Reddit for an entire week leading up to a major movie release just to ensure they don't accidentally read a spoiler.
Oh, people take it very seriously.
Friendships have genuinely been strained because someone casually dropped a spoiler at a dinner party. It is treated like a severe breach of the social contract.
It highlights a deep psychological shift in how we value narrative consumption in the internet age.
How so?
We place an incredibly high premium on the virgin experience of a story. The ability to be genuinely surprised in real time alongside the characters.
Right, because once you know, you can never unknow it.
Exactly. If you look at the etymology of the word itself, spoil is historically agricultural.
Agricultural.
Yeah, it comes from the idea of food rotting or going bad. If you leave a carton of milk out on the counter, it spoils.
Oh, I see.
The chemical structure breaks down, it is ruined, and it can no longer be consumed in the way it was originally intended.
Wow, so by revealing the ending of a movie, society dictates that you have literally spoiled the narrative.
You have ruined the freshness of the experience for the other person, and they can never get that first-time reaction back.
You have robbed them of the emotional payoff.
Exactly.
So the 2 hours are up, the villain is defeated, the credits finally roll, the harsh overhead lights come back on, and you shuffle back out of the theater into the real world.
Blinking in the sunlight.
We've covered a lot of ground today, from the lobby to the credits. When we pull all of this together, what does this actually mean for you, the listener, the next time you find yourself navigating a foreign environment?
It means you are walking out of this deep dive with a highly calibrated, comprehensive roadmap for navigating not just the cinema, but American cultural spaces in general.
Right, a roadmap.
You now possess the structural knowledge that you can bypass the traditional box office and head straight for the kiosk.
Yes.
You understand the profound power of stripping away the excess vocabulary of robot English to sound more relaxed, more natural, and more fluent.
You know, the deep architectural and engineering secrets of asking for your popcorn butter to be perfectly layered, saving you from a soggy bucket.
Crucial knowledge.
And arguably, most importantly, you know how to wield the magic phrase. Can I get to unlock literally any customer service interaction, effectively masking your request in the polite, egalitarian fiction of American society, instead of aggressively demanding things with me? Give me.
You comprehend the subtle spatial psychology of why you claim a seat instead of looking for a chair.
Yes, the real estate.
You are equipped with the exact linguistic de-escalation tools, using soft language, like I think you might be, to gracefully assert your boundaries and avoid conflict in a sold-out room.
Right.
And you know the precise words to use. You go out to see a major event, but you stay home to watch media on your couch.
And the overarching takeaway here, the reason we spent an hour breaking down the smell of popcorn and the spelling of aisle, is that these phrases do not exist in a vacuum.
I absolutely don't.
They are not consigned to the walls of the movie theater. Can I Get is going to work flawlessly when you are ordering a complicated pastry at a crowded, intimidating bakery in New York City.
Oh, for sure.
Excuse me, I think you might be, is the exact phrase that is going to save you from getting into a massive, sweaty argument over luggage space on a crowded commuter train in London or a delayed flight out of Chicago.
Exactly.
By mastering these specific interactions, you aren't just learning how to buy snacks in the dark. You are building a universal toolkit for social ease.
Knowledge is always most valuable when the underlying mechanics are understood and can be applied laterally across a multitude of different environments.
Beautifully said.
You aren't memorizing a script, you are learning the underlying code of polite society.
You are learning the music, not just the lyrics. And that leaves us with a final, slightly deeper thought for you to carry with you this week.
What's the thought?
We have spent all this time decoding the hidden scripts of the movie theater, learning how simply offering a stranger a polite, face-saving excuse when they steal your seat can completely eliminate your anxiety and make you feel like an absolute cultural insider.
Right.
So if mastering just a handful of these unwritten social formulas can completely revolutionize your confidence in something as trivial as a cinema, how might actively paying attention and hunting for these hidden conversational rhythms in other spaces completely transform the way you experience and connect with a foreign culture?
Wow.
Like navigating a foreign supermarket or walking into a local bank or attending a casual dinner party.
It changes everything.
It really does. Something to chew on next time you're in the dark.